In this video, I'm going to share with you some very alarming breaking news. And I don't normally cover news like this in my videos. However, given the huge impact this could have on millions of homeowners across the country, I felt it was important to bring this to your attention. So here's the situation. We already know that this year's autumn budget, which is going to be announced in just a couple of weeks on October, is going to include significant tax rises. Jeremy Hunt has already announced that he needs to find £21 billion of savings, or £21 billion worth of extra tax to be precise. And that's on top of the £60 billion of tax rises we saw last year. Now, unfortunately, the OBR, that's the Office of Budgetary Responsibility, have just published some data which shows that the Chancellor may need to find an extra £51 billion of tax to plug what they call a black hole in the public finances. Now, because of a self-imposed ban on tax rises for working people, which was put in place by David Cameron back in 2010, the government is unable to increase income tax, corporation tax, or even, believe it or not, national insurance. Instead, the government is looking at other ways to try to increase tax revenue. And one such way is by radically reforming our property system. Now, I have to stress at this point that none of this has been confirmed, but the speculation is absolutely rife. And it's coming from very well-connected sources within the heart of government. So what's the speculation? Well, the first part of the property system that's under review is stamp duty, the tax that you pay when you buy a house or a flat. Now, stamp duty was introduced in 1996 and hasn't really changed much since. The current system means that you pay stamp duty to the government when you buy a house, and it depends on the value of that house. So, for example, if you're buying a house for £250,000, you'll pay 0% stamp duty. If you're buying a house for £425,000, you'll pay 2%. And if you're buying a house for £1 million, you'll pay 12%. Now, the government is supposedly looking at two options. Option 1 is to abolish stamp duty altogether and replace it with an annual property tax. This is effectively a recurring tax that you pay every single year on the value of your house. Now, the specifics of this proposal are still unclear, but it's thought that it could be about 0.4% on the value of your house. That equates to £400 a year on a £250,000 house, or £800 a year on a £500,000 house. However, there could also be a minimum threshold so that you only start paying this tax once your house exceeds a certain value. However, option 2 is far less palatable, and it's the one that's favored by the Treasury according to house sale experts at Rightmove. They say that the government is looking at scrapping stamp duty and instead replacing it with a tax on the seller, i.e., the person or the estate agent giving up the proceeds of the sale. Under this model, the seller would effectively pay the government a one-off fee when they sell the house, and that fee would depend on the value of the house. Using the same example as before, this could mean that you pay £0 on a £250,000 house, £10,500 on a £500,000 house, and £60,000 on a £1 million house. This is clearly less palatable because it punishes sellers rather than buyers. And there's no benefit to first-time buyers either. Furthermore, it's also possible that this tax could be levied on the buyer as normal, but then the seller could choose to pass some or all of that tax on to the buyer. The thing is, no one is quite sure exactly how this will work out in practice. And there are a lot of unanswered questions. For example, will there be any relief for first-time buyers? And how will this tax apply to second homeowners? Rightmove adds that there's also speculation that stamp duty could be increased on second homes to try to discourage people from owning multiple properties. On top of this, there is also speculation that the government could scrap council tax and replace it with an annual property tax. So that's the situation right now. No one is sure exactly what's going to happen. But the Chancellor is under pressure to find billions more in tax revenues. And property taxes are one way of doing this without upsetting the Treasury's self-imposed ban on taxing working people. Now, obviously, I'll keep you updated with any developments in this area. But in the meantime, Please do let me know what you make of this down below. Do you think it's fair for the government to increase tax revenues in this way? Or should they stick to taxing income and corporation tax? As always, I love reading your comments. So please do let me know what you think down below. And just finally, if you haven't already, please do hit the subscribe button because I post brand new videos every single week, and it's the best way to make sure you don't miss a thing. Thank you so much for watching and supporting, and I'll see you in the next one.